Get ready to be jolted out of the ordinary and into a world where conversations are charged with intensity and facts. The Lightning Strike Talk Radio with your host, Mohammed Fahim, broadcasting live from the heart of the city on Chicago's Progressive Talk Radio, WCPT 820 AM. Welcome to a radio show that charges through the airwaves with an electricity like no other. Here's your host, Mohammed Fahim.
And I'm going to introduce Lynn LaPlante, who is no stranger to trying to stay safe and warm, because I know all the candidates probably on this dais today have been doing a lot of canvassing in the very, very ridiculously cold that Chicago can offer. So thank you all for being great candidates and knocking doors. But so Lynn lives in Illinois State Rep House District, Illinois 42. And that is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lynn, it is Glen Ellen, Lombard, Villa Park, and and a little bit of Lisle. Is that right?
A little bit of Downers Grove, not Villa Park, a little bit of Wheat.
Yes. Okay, a little bit of Wheat. Okay, got it. So kind of dead center in the middle of DuPage. So it's not Eastern DuPage, it's not Western DuPage, it's kind of dead center in the middle, right? So I'm not super familiar with the issues there. So tell us what you think the top issues are in your district.
Sure. So like you said, I've been knocking doors constantly and talking to people, which has been phenomenal. Not the weather part, not the face hurting part and the losing fingers, feelings in my fingers. But I love talking to people at the doors because it's like a connection that you feel instantly because everyone is horrified, actually horrified. I can't get the words Democrat out fast enough, because they're like, what team are you on? I'm like, Democrat. And boy, howdy, are they all ready to talk. Exactly what Nick was just saying and what you're talking about, ICE. That is what is just absolutely upsetting people the most that I talk to. Yeah. That's just something that I think certain people, certain elected officials were not anticipating this, which I don't understand why. They telegraphed exactly what they were going to do. None of this should be a surprise. I am so sick of hearing, oh gosh, well, we just don't know what we don't know. Yeah, we do. And if you don't know, you weren't paying attention and you're being reactive instead of proactive, which is not leading, right? Mm-hmm. So something that happened in our district on the county board, citizens, voters, constituents did not feel that we were speaking up loudly and boldly enough against ICE coming into our communities. So they came to county board meetings. They made very, very, very loud public comments. They wrote emails. Guess what? That works. I just want to tell everyone, voters, you have way more power than you think. All the power is in your hands. Do not think that it's in the elected officials' hands. It is with the people. Your voice, when you come and you make public comments, when you write those emails, it actually will affect your legislatures. It'll affect the people who hold office because they are, I'm going to tell you a secret, they're scared. They're scared of losing their seat. You have the power. You got to take it back. So I was really proud at how many members of our community came and showed up and said, do more, say more, protect this community. And then we followed. That's not great. That's not leadership, right? So we need to be a lot bolder. You're going to hear the same thing that Nick just said. We need to be bolder. You need to go for it now. Don't wait. Don't sit there and see which way the wind is blowing. Take action.
Thank you. And as I have said many times on our air and everywhere for the last 30 years is nobody's coming to save us, folks. We have to be the leaders. So Lynn is absolutely right. And I echo that 100% is that we have to lead ourselves because right now our members of Congress are honestly, there's maybe 15 or 20 that are meeting the moment. A lot of them are not meeting the moment. So we do. And by the way, that leads me to my next kind of offering is that do not sleep on county races and state rep and state senate races. Here's why, is that we know they've been the bulwark against this federal administration. The irony here, folks, is that conservatives and Republican theory is all about states' rights. And guess who's been exercising them a whole lot? The Democrats. So life is a circle. And given that, I know that there are some bills in the state house and the state senate right now that are being reconsidered or thought about repealing, and there's some controversy around that, Lynn. So as a candidate, what are some of those bills that are controversial that are already passed, but potentially your district wants repealed? Give me an example of one of those.
Sure. An easy one is the anti-BDS bill, which is on the books since 2015. When I talk to members of my community and I explain what it is, it stands for boycott, divest, and sanction. They can't believe that it's a law. They truly are like, wait, what? That's an actual law that we have right now? Yes, it is. So anyone who is critical of Israel can be punished. So we can't do that. This is simply a First Amendment right. That's it. Period. End of story. This is a slippery slope. You cannot tell people who they may or may not speak out against or criticize. So I would 100% vote to repeal that. My opponent has made it clear that she would not. So that's something that's really easy to differentiate on. That's, to me, a very clear stance. What you think about the First Amendment. Right now, obviously, every day you see people protesting, right? That might be what we have left, folks. We have to be serious. And anything that would impinge upon that has to be fought back and pushed back and legislated against immediately. Because this is what we have to do. And this is, everyone is finding their voice. It feels like, don't you? You can all feel that, right? And that's where the power is. So anything that would try to diminish the power of regular people's voices, absolutely unacceptable.
So interesting. So I know why in Congress people would vote to support a bill against the First Amendment in our own party, in the Democratic Party. I understand that in Congress, but Lynn, what do you think the reason is that current legislators would put an anti-First Amendment bill in the first? Like, why do you think that's happening? What's motivating those Democrats that would vote for a bill like that?
In my opinion, it's simply fear, lack of courage, two sides of the same coin, right? Fear of retaliation, fear of retribution, fear of going against members of their own party. I think that's something that if you are going to run for office and accept a position of leadership, you have to use your critical thinking skills. You cannot simply just go with the flow. That's not working. Because look, is anything working right now? The answer is no. Then you have to look at what got us here, going with the flow, not asking questions, not standing up, not using your own independent critical thinking. Therefore, we have to change our process. Otherwise, nothing will change. That's just simple logic. So that's what I think it is. But the great counterpoint to this, to the fear and lack of courage, is I truly believe that courage is contagious. I really do. So the more people speak up, the more people stand up and say, this is nonsense. Come on now, let's be real. We've got to repeal this bill. It'll help other people find their courage. So I keep saying, you know what? If you don't have courage yet, borrow a cup of courage from me. I'm happy to blend it out. But once we all use our courageous voices and stand up and speak up, more people will follow. We just need to elect people with courage, truly. You've got to have steel in your spine. You've got to have a backbone. That's it. It's too dangerous otherwise.
And I don't think so. As I always say, it's not a right, left, or center issue anymore. Correct. It is a top versus bottom issue. So, right now, many members of Congress I know don't understand this is a top versus bottom issue. It is no longer right. In fact, the right, left, and center does not exist in the electoral population anymore. It only exists in Congress. There's only moderates in Congress. There are no people in the world that have diluted views in the middle all the way. That human, it's antithetical to how humans think. So so that's interesting. I like the cup of courage idea. So I'm going to ask all the candidates on the panel about the cup of courage. I love that idea.